Shabbat Shalom. Let's learn Torah this week with Rashi, as we have been during 5781. We're in Parshat Hukkat, which begins with chapter 19 in the book of Numbers. And the first matter that we encounter is that of the red heifer, the perfectly red cow, whose ashes shall be taken and it will be mixed with cedar wood and hyssop and crimson scarlet wool, and the burning of the cow, the ashes of all will be taken together, and it will be used when one becomes impure or is in a state of tuma. If he encounters or she encounters a corpse, or is in the presence of a dead body within a tent or another structure. And he'll have to purify himself. She'll purify herself, and the person, until the time they do, will not be able to participate in the everyday ritual life, the communal life of his or her family or that of Am Yisrael. And so there'll be a sprinkling of those waters that contain the ashes, and purity, tahara, will return. Right from the start, Rashi realizes there will be many questions by nations of the world and those accusing Israel of strange magical rituals. He says, "Lefisha Satan ve'umot ha'olam monin et Yisrael." People will come and question Israel. They'll grieve Israel, saying, "Ma mitzvah zot." What kind of rituals are you engaged in? What kind of commandments does your God give? What kind of rituals are you engaged in? And what's the reason? Umat ta'am yeshba. Now, in the world of medieval text, ta'amei mitzvot, the reasons behind the mitzvah become very important explorations. And Rashi's not discounting the fact, with what he's going to say now, that there are good reasons and meanings that you can understand with each of the mitzvot that we want to explore. But with this one, it's presented as Hukkat Torah because there might not be immediate rational explanations for this very unique ritual that helps us revive the spirit and prepare for family communal life after the deep encounter, the touch with death that we would experience. So Rashi says, "Gezerahi milefanai." God says to the Jewish people, Rashi says, understand, God says this is a decree, and you may not immediately find the absolute reason or rational explanation for this one. Ein lecha reshut laharher achareh. And please know, you don't have the right to simply set it aside or think little of it, or even reflect on it too deeply. What I want you to do is use the ritual to help bring yourself from that state of tuma. You know, death creates a different status for a person, or at least can psychologically and spiritually impact someone's willingness to really be fully present and a participant in the life of family and friends and community. And so, use the ritual, Rashi implies. There will just not be that kind of rational explanation that you might think exists. You know, tuma and tahara have been translated as impurity and purity, and by the ancient Israelites, there might have been a sense that some type of material reality, some type of essence of death existed and it needed to be banished. But by the rabbinic era, for sure that was entirely dispelled. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai will say to a heathen in the Gemara that, sure, it's like a demon and an exorcism, but he just doesn't want to get into the notion of the deeper sense of the ritual at that point, because this challenge is coming from, as Rashi said, the ummot ha'olam, the ones who wish to aggrieve Israel, who wish to show how irrational Jewish life is or could be. Rabbi Yochanan's disciples, his students, turned to him at the end of that passage in the Gemara, and he says to them after they say, Rabbi, you might have just avoided the conversation with the heathen. But what answer will you give to us? We seek to know something about this ritual of the red heifer. And he replies to them, the dead, they are part of our world as we who stand here in life. This is the way of the world. This is God's decree. And by decree, I give you a ritual that helps you as you encounter that very reality. You're not authorized to violate it. And please do embrace it. The sense that I have is that Rabbi Yochanan is saying, you will come back to a lev tahor. You will come back to a heart that embraces life. What is purity in this sense? It is the willingness to embrace life, our own life, however it unfolds, with whatever challenges we have, the sadness of death within our families and within our circles of friends and community, the spirit that is revived when we embrace ritual. It may not be that we sprinkle potions with the ashes of perfectly red cows, but we light lights. We light a lamp at a shiva. We take some dirt and throw it ourselves during burial to be in touch with the earth. And we let that earth, despite the fact that we so wish not to depart from our loved ones in body, we say that this relationship will no longer be defined by an earthly sense. We will now live with soul connections to those we love. This is the kind of emotional and spiritual set of rituals that we have in our tradition that have been there throughout time. The ritual of the red heifer being among those that helped us revive the spirit and regain a sense of an embrace of Chaim, l'chaim, of life. Shabbat Shalom.